Timur was more than just a military leader. He was an extreme historical experiment in answering a single question: can absolute power build a civilization? From the steppes of Central Asia emerged a lame man, with no clear royal lineage, but he succeeded in subjugating cities that no one else had even dared approach. He won most of his battles, and yet, everything collapsed after his death. How? Timur was born in 1336 in Transoxiana, modern-day Uzbekistan. He was not a pure Mongol, but a Turco-Mongol, and he exploited the name of Genghis Khan to create a political legitimacy he didn't possess. He was lame due to an old injury, and this is psychologically significant. Timur compensated for his physical weakness by amplifying his image of terror. He was not an heir, but a political adventurer who understood early on that the sword alone is not enough, and legitimacy is made, not granted. The common misconception that his victories were solely a result of brutality. The truth is more complex. 1. Intelligence. He possessed an effective information network. Merchant spies, messengers who spread rumors before armies arrived. Cities were psychologically defeated before they were besieged. 2. Psychological warfare. The pyramids of skulls were not arbitrary. They were a calculated political message. If you resist, I will leave no witnesses. With this, he saved thousands of soldiers in battles. 3. Tactical flexibility. Hit-and-run tactics. Supply line attacks, dismantling alliances before confrontation militarily. Yes, he was a genius. Timur ibn Targay was born in 1336 CE in the city of Kesh, present-day Shahrasubs, in Transoxiana, a region that was not marginal, as some might think, but rather a turbulent heart of the Islamic world after the collapse of the Mongol Ilkhanate. Here is a point many overlook. Timur was not born in a political vacuum, but rather in a chaotic environment ideal for the rise of tyrants. First, ethnic and social background. Timur was not a descendant of Genghis Khan. This is crucial. He belonged to the Barlas tribe, a Turkic-Mongol tribe that had culturally become Mongolized but was not from the Mongol ruling house. In that era, legitimacy equaled Genghis Khanate lineage. So, from the beginning, Timur suffered from a fatal lack of political legitimacy. This deficiency is key to understanding everything that followed. Common mistake: describing him as Mongol. Accuracy: Turkic-Mongol in culture, not in legitimacy. Secondly, Transoxiana, a land without a state. After the fall of the Ilkhanate, no central authority. Local princes, tribal conflicts, alliances that shifted annually. This kind of environment doesn't produce philosophers, it produces ruthless survivors. Timur learned early on: betrayal is a skill. Alliances are temporary tools. Morality is a luxury for losers. Thirdly, his physical injury, a detail that is not insignificant. The nickname, Len, the Lame, is not a later insult, but a contemporary description of him. He was injured in his youth, likely during a clash or raid, resulting in a permanent limp, a hand deformity, according to some sources. Why is this important? Because we are talking about a nomadic military society. Disability equals weakness equals threat to status. Timur compensated for this with three things: excessive cruelty, constant displays of power, amplifying the image of terror. This is not a romanticized psychoanalysis, but a behavioral reading supported by his biography. Fourth, how did he establish his legitimacy? This is the crucial point. Since he did not have Genghis Khanate, he did the following. He installed figurehead khans from the line of Genghis. He ruled in their name. While the decision was his own, he married women of noble Mongol lineage. He presented himself as the reviver of Mongol glory, not their heir. Herein lies his true political genius. He did not claim what he did not possess, but rather cultivated it. Fifth, religion. A tool, not an identity. Timur was nominally a Sunni Muslim, but he did not rule by Sharia law. He did not build a religious project. He used scholars for legitimization, not for restriction. Here we break a common misconception. He was not a religious leader, but a pragmatic one who used religion when it served his Purposes. Before we understand his massacres, we must understand his methods. Brutality alone does not topple empires. Timur did not triumph because he was bloodthirsty, but because he organized chaos. First, the army, not a barbaric mob. Common misconception. Portraying Timur's army as a bloodthirsty horde. The truth. A relatively well-structured and disciplined army by the standards of its time. Composition. Light cavalry, the foundation of the force, archers, siege engineers, and irregular forces for plunder and terror. Timur inherited from the Mongols. Swift movement and striking before assembling, but he added, siege of cities and the destruction of infrastructure, not merely subjugation. Second, intelligence, the weapon that preceded the army. Timur rarely entered a battle unknown. He relied on merchants as an excellent source of information, messengers, dissidents, and disaffected local princes. This meant that a city was studied before arrival. Who ruled? Who hated him? Could an internal conflict be ignited? And here's an important point. Many cities fell because their gates were opened from within. Third, psychological warfare. Terror is a military doctrine. Here we arrive at the part that is often misunderstood. The pyramids of skulls were not anger madness nor senseless sadism. They were a doctrine of deterrence. The message was clear. The first city is completely destroyed, the second is partially slaughtered, the third surrenders without a fight. With this logic, reduce the number of battles, save his forces, accelerate expansion. But this weapon is only effective in the short term, and we will see its cost later. Fourth, field tactics. Why did his opponents collapse? Timur rarely engaged in direct conventional battles. His methods: striking supply lines, luring the enemy out of fortifications, dissolving alliances before confrontation, using feigned withdrawal. His opponents were often conventional armies, slow defensive. The result: a psychologically exhausted opponent before the fighting even began. Fifth, siege. His lesser-known weapon. Unlike the early Mongols, Timur invested heavily in besieging cities. He employed engineers from Persia and China, forcibly relocated craftsmen to serve his war machine. He wasn't ashamed to completely destroy a city if necessary. And here's the paradox: the man who destroyed cities knew their value well. Sixth, the hidden weakness. All of the above depended on Timur's personality, his decisions, his presence, not on a written military doctrine. Institutionalized leadership, a stable hierarchy. And here lies the button for future collapse. Analytical conclusion of Chapter 2. Timur was not the most ruthless leader in history, but rather the most adept at using terror as a tool. His victories were not accidental, but they were also not inheritable. And this is what would later destroy him. The campaign against the Khwarezmian state. It wasn't a small state, but a major Islamic power. Its fall paved the way for Timur's control over Central Asia and Iran. We begin with Timur's campaign against Baghdad, the former capital of the Abbasid Caliphate, in 1401 CE. 1. Why Baghdad? By the end of the 14th century, Baghdad was no longer the capital of the caliphate as it had been at its peak, but it was a religious symbol, a center of learning, an important trading hub. It was under the control of the Jalayirids, specifically Sultan Ahmad Jalayir. Here's an important point. Timur didn't attack Baghdad because it was strong, but because it symbolized something greater than its military power. In Timur's mind, striking the symbol equals shattering regional prestige. It wasn't a random campaign. Timur didn't head straight for Baghdad. Before that, he subdued Persia, he controlled Tabriz, he secured supply lines. In other words, Baghdad was a later target, not an immediate one. When Ahmad Jalayir refused to submit completely, Timur considered it a symbolic, not merely political, act of rebellion. The siege. A fall faster than expected. In 1401, Timur laid a tight siege around the city. Several factors contributed to Baghdad's rapid fall. Weak fortifications compared to Aleppo and Damascus, internal divisions. The flight of Sultan Ahmad Jalayir here was the first collapse. The city was left without effective leadership. What actually happened? After entering, Timur ordered a census of the population, their separation by social class, then the mass killing began. Sources differ on the numbers. Some mention 90,000, others reach 200,000 dead. The important thing is not the number, but the method. Building pyramids of skulls, destroying entire neighborhoods, widespread and indiscriminate killing. This wasn't military chaos. This was a systematic policy of terror. Why this particular violence? Here's the common misconception. Because it was bloody. A more nuanced analysis. Baghdad is a symbolic city. Timur wanted to send a message to all the cities of the Islamic world. Any hesitation equals destruction. Baghdad was a model to be emulated, not an exception. The civilizational outcome after the campaign: destruction of schools and libraries, exodus of scholars, a long-term economic collapse. Baghdad never truly recovered from the blow of 1401 CE, even centuries later. And here's a stark truth. The Timurid attack was the final nail in the coffin of Baghdad as a cultural capital. Final analysis. Victory or strategic blunder? Militarily, yes, a swift and decisive victory. Strategically, he gained no loyalty. He didn't establish an administration. He left a scorched earth. Here we see a recurring pattern. Timur triumphs, then departs, leaving an unmanaged vacuum. Conclusion. The Baghdad campaign reveals Timur's true nature: a genius at destruction, weak at construction. His goal was not long-term rule, but rather to establish his image as an invincible power. And this is what he succeeded in, temporarily. The Tabriz Campaign. Conquest without destruction, 1392-1394 CE. First, we ask why Tabriz. Because Tabriz was the economic capital of Iran and Azerbaijan, a crossroads of trade routes, the Silk Road, a city of crafts, industry, and currency. It was under the rule of the Jalayirids and then experienced internal turmoil. Timur understood something clear. This is a city that generates a steady income. It will not be burned. As for the method of entry, there was no bloody siege unlike Baghdad, meaning, he did not destroy the city, he did not carry out a general massacre. The reason? Tabriz surrendered quickly, its elite negotiated, they paid tribute. Here we break a myth. Timur did not always kill, he calculated. And here we ask, what did he actually take? He did not take the city itself nor its inhabitants en masse, but he took taxes, gold, skilled craftsmen, control over trade, and this is radically different from Baghdad and Delhi. As for his indirect rule, he left local governors, existing administrations, in exchange for loyalty and payment. This was his closest attempt at governance. But it wasn't widespread. Why didn't he replicate the Tabriz model? And here's the most important question. Because governance takes time, stability reduces the potential for quick spoils. His army was accustomed to plunder. In stark terms, Timur's army wasn't suited for governance. His campaigns in Transoxiana and Khorasan, 1360-1380, this was the most dangerous phase, because it shaped Timur himself. Before he became a universal conqueror, he was a local warlord fighting fellow Muslim tribes and neighbors, building his power step by step. What did he do? Waging wars against rival tribes, some coups and alliances, and mutual political betrayals. Why is it neglected? Because no famous cities, no major massacres, but it portrays him as a ruthless politician, not a bloodthirsty tyrant. Important analysis. This phase explains why he later trusted no one. As for his campaigns in the interior of Persia, such as Isfahan, Shiraz, and Yazd, people remember Baghdad and forget Isfahan, 1387. Isfahan revolted after its submission. Timur responded with a major massacre. Tens of thousands were killed. Why is it not mentioned? Because it, not a major, symbolic capital, but an early model of the policy of terror. Shiraz, surrendered was treated relatively leniently. The same leader, two different approaches. His campaigns in the Caucasus, Georgia and Armenia, these are almost forgotten. Their objectives: securing the northern flank, breaking mountain passes and striking local Christian forces. The spoils weren't huge, but they were purely military. An important detail: here Timur appears as a border commander, not a destroyer of civilizations. His campaigns against the Golden Horde, Toktamish, these are among his most strategically important campaigns. Against whom? Against Toktamish Khan, ruler of the Golden Horde, a powerful Mongol heir. What happened? Major battles in the Russian steppes to destroy the Golden Horde's capital, Sarai, to eliminate a real Mongol threat to him. And here's the question: why is Timur neglected? The reason is that it is not located in the classical Islamic world, but it completely protects Timur's rear. Analysis: without these campaigns, he would never have dared to attack Baghdad or Damascus. His planned campaign against China, which never materialized, is psychologically pivotal. Towards the end of his life, he prepared a massive army. His target: the Chinese Ming dynasty. What happened? He died in 1405. The campaign was cancelled. Why is this important? Because it reveals Timur didn't know when to stop. Had he lived, he would have clashed with a well-organized state with a completely different economy and army, and he would most likely have failed. We will discuss this in more detail later. Timur's campaign against Delhi, 1398 CE, booty before state first. Why Delhi in the first place? In the late 14th century, the Delhi Sultanate was politically weak, but it was one of the richest regions in the world in terms of treasuries, taxes, and crafts. Internally uncohesive, surrounded by local rebellions, Sultan Nasiruddin Mahmud Tughlaq held more title than power. Here's the overlooked truth: Delhi was not a threat to Timur, it was a huge economic opportunity. This was not a war of political expansion, but a strategic conquest for wealth. Second, the pretext: religion as a cover. Timur presented the campaign as punishment against a sultanate that protected Hindus, a jihad against religious corruption. But this rhetoric was pragmatic, not ideological. He did not seek to establish a disciplined Islamic government. He did not leave behind a legitimate administration. He withdrew as soon as the objective was achieved. Here, religion was a tool for mobilization, not a project of governance. Third, the road to Delhi: destruction before arrival. On his way, he destroyed cities and villages. He killed thousands. He enslaved the population, not out of revenge, but to secure his rear and spread terror. Timur hated one thing: guerrilla warfare after conquest, so he preemptively solved it. No people equals no resistance. Fourth, the decisive decision: the massacre of prisoners before the Battle of Delhi. Timur had tens of thousands of prisoners, mostly Hindus. He made a shocking decision: he killed them all before the battle began. Why? He feared their rebellion during the fighting. He had no intention of holding on to the land. This decision alone reveals Timur did not come to rule, but to take and leave. Fifth, the battle: the collapse of the Delhi army. The Delhi army was slow and conventional, relying on war elephants. Timur, however, used camels laden with burning straw to frighten the elephants, along with a swift flanking maneuver, and attacked the command posts. The result: the elephants went mad. The army collapsed. The road to the city was opened. Sixth, the entry into Delhi and the great massacre. After the entry, tens of thousands were killed. The city was looted for days. Entire neighborhoods were destroyed. Sources range from 100,000 dead to even more. Again, methodology is more important than numbers. This was not chaos. The killing was organized. The looting was systematic. Selected prisoners were taken to Samarkand. The result: a victory without a future. A few weeks later, Timur withdrew. He left Delhi in ruins. He did not appoint a strong ruler. He did not establish an administration. The Sultanate did not fall immediately, but it entered a long period of decline that later paved the way for the emergence of new powers such as the Mughal Empire later on. Timur's campaign against Damascus 1400–1401 CE, where terror met civilization. In 1400 CE, Damascus was under Mamluk rule. It was a state, a professional military force with religious legitimacy possessing a jurisprudential and scholarly elite of symbolic weight. Damascus was not a purely economic target like Delhi, nor a lifeless symbol like Baghdad, but a vibrant city representing institutional Sunni Islam. This is what made it dangerous for Timur. Damascus produced legitimacy, and Timur lacked it. The strategic decision to defeat the Mamluks before forming an alliance against them after his victory over the Ottomans at Ankara 1402, it became clear that Timur did not want a unified Islamic front or a regional power capable of challenging him morally. The Mamluks were the prime candidate for this. Therefore, the campaign against Damascus was preventive plus symbolic plus political, not a bloody outburst. The siege of a city that knew how to resist began. Damascus did not fall as quickly as Baghdad. Damascus had strong fortifications, a Mamluk military leadership, and inhabitants accustomed to sieges. But the Mamluk Sultan Faraj ibn Barkuk withdrew, leaving the city in a leadership vacuum. Here the pattern repeats itself. Cities are defeated when they are left without leadership, not just when they are militarily exhausted. Timur negotiated with the scholars of Damascus, showed formal respect, received Judge Ibn Mufla and others, and even met Ibn Khaldun personally. But don't be fooled. This was not tolerance, but rather a tactic to buy time. Negotiation allowed him to dismantle the resistance, gather intelligence, and divide the elite. And after entering the city, no immediate massacre occurred, and Damascus was not destroyed despite the respect shown. And so began the systematic looting, the burning of neighborhoods, and the destruction of markets. The city was literally burned, especially its commercial districts, industries, and economic centers. Herein lies the paradox. Timur preserved some scholars, but he destroyed the environment that produced them. The most dangerous thing Timur did in Damascus was the silent crime, the deportation of artisans, the relocation of engineers, and the forced relocation of scholars to Samarkand. This was no coincidence. He was building a cultural capital on the ruins of other cities. Damascus lost its human capital, not just its buildings, and this is more devastating than killing. So why is Damascus different from Baghdad and Delhi? Let's be clear. In Baghdad, it was a message of terror. In Delhi, it was booty. In Damascus, it was the theft of civilization. This reveals an evolution in Timur's behavior. He no longer just destroyed, he began to forcibly redistribute civilization. It is said that Timur respected scholars. This is only half the truth. The correct view: respect their value, not their independence nor their city's knowledge, for him, was a resource to be transferred, not an environment to be preserved. This is short-sighted imperial thinking. In conclusion, Damascus reveals Timur's ultimate limit. In Damascus, we see the height of his intelligence and the height of his limitations. He succeeded in neutralizing a religious symbol, weakening the Mamluks, strengthening Samarkand. He failed in gaining lasting loyalty, building a sustainable cultural center, transforming power into order. Damascus was not only defeated militarily, but also culturally plundered. Timur's campaigns against the Turks. First, who were the Turks Timur fought? A common misconception is that Timur fought the Turks as a single entity. The truth: he fought two distinct Turkish projects, the Turkmens of Eastern Anatolia and the Turkmen principalities such as the Karakoyunlu, Koyunlu, and others. Phase 1. The preliminary Anatolian campaigns 1393–1400, the real objective: not just expansion, but crushing any Turkish power that might ally with the Ottomans. Timur established himself as the legitimate heir to Genghis Khan's legacy in the Turkic world. What he actually did invaded eastern Anatolia, destroyed entire Turkmen cities, forcibly relocated thousands of artisans to Samarkand. Critical note: these campaigns are often overlooked because they were not acts of heroism but rather strategic terror. Phase 2. The indirect conflict with the Ottomans. Why was this conflict inevitable? Because Bayezid I annexed the Turkmen Emirates by force. These princes fled to Timur and sought his protection. Timur used them as a pretext for war. Here we see Timur the politician, not just the military commander. Phase 3. The Great Anatolian Campaign, 1400–1402, the invasion of Anatolia. He entered Shivas. He committed a notorious massacre against the defenders, burying them alive, according to contemporary sources. He destroyed cities that were under Ottoman influence. This was not a provocation, but an open declaration of war. The climax. The Battle of Ankara, 1402. The sides in the battle: Timur, a multi-ethnic army, desert expertise, war elephants. Bayezid I, a regular Ottoman army, rapid expansion, fragile loyalty. What decided the battle? The defection of the Turkmen Emirates from Bayezid during the fighting, the exhaustion of the Ottoman army, a clever encirclement tactic by Timur, and the result a crushing defeat for the Ottomans. The capture of Sultan Bayezid I was an unprecedented event, the shattering of the image of the invincible army. After the battle, the most profound blow, and here is Timur's fatal mistake: instead of conquering Anatolia or establishing a stable, subordinate regime, he dismantled the Ottoman state and then left it to collapse on its own, reinstated the weakened Turkmen Emirates. The result: an Ottoman civil war, 1402–1413, but the Ottomans returned stronger and more centralized. Timur won the battle, but lost history. Timur was neither a savior of the Turks nor their enemy, driven by nationalism, but rather a destroyer of balances. Fearful of any rival project, he struck the Ottomans not because he hated them, but because he could not tolerate any shadow above his own. Timur's state was not designed to endure. It was designed to be conquered, not to be ruled for long. This is not a moral judgment, but a political analysis. The first problem: Timur did not establish a state in the institutional sense. Timur did not establish a clear system of succession, did not establish a stable, centralized bureaucracy, did not build a productive state economy. He relied on the army and plunder, not regular taxation. The result: as soon as he died, 1405 CE, the engine that held everything together disappeared. The state was a person, not an institution. The second problem: the system of legitimacy was fragile. Timur was not a direct descendant of Genghis Khan, and therefore, he ruled as a figurehead Khan, and his legitimacy was military, not legal. After his death, his sons and grandsons did not possess the same prestige. Each prince considered himself more deserving of the throne. The result: endless internal wars. The third problem: the heirs, culturally strong, politically weak. Timur's descendants, especially in Herat and Samarkand, were patrons of art and science. But they failed to control the army. They were preoccupied with family conflicts. The most famous example: Shah Rukh, his son, relatively maintained the state. After him, the rapid decline began. Timurid culture flourished, while Timurid power collapsed. The fourth problem: expansion without integration. Timur destroyed Baghdad, Delhi, Damascus, but he did not administratively integrate these regions, did not leave strong, permanent garrisons. He relied on fear, not loyalty. After his army withdrew, the cities returned to their original inhabitants, or fell to new local powers. The final blow: new regional powers. After Timur, the Ottomans recovered. The Safavids emerged. The Uzbeks pressed from the north. The Timurid state was besieged, internally divided, without a unifying project. The end result: disintegration into warring emirates in Khorasan and Transoxiana. Then complete collapse in the mid-16th century. Red exclamation mark Timur succeeded as a conqueror. Red exclamation mark but he failed as the founder of a long-lasting state. This makes him the antithesis of Napoleon administratively, and closer to Alexander in the end. The state disintegrated, because Timur built an empire that stood on its own 2 feet, and when its feet stopped, the empire fell. And in the winter of 1405, in unforgiving Central Asia, even for the man whom the cities of the world had shown no mercy to, Timur was not returning from a war, he was going to the greatest war of his life. His target, China, the Ming dynasty, the last great power he had yet to face. At nearly 70 years old, he still thought like a conqueror in his 30s. Timur's army was halted near the city of Otrar, not because of an enemy, but because of the cold, and Timur fell seriously ill, high fever and sudden weakness. Pneumonia, likely brought on by the bitter cold. The doctors tried to treat him with the remedies of his time, heated medicinal wine, but the treatment proved a burden. His death was not announced immediately. For days, the soldiers were unaware. The commanders whispered. Fear outweighed grief, because everyone knew the truth. This country walked on the shoulders of one man. And in February 1405, the heart stopped. A silent death, but its echo was deafening. And here the return to Samarkand with the body brought back to the capital, to be buried in the mausoleum of Gur-e-Emir. Here lies the man who toppled capitals, and left no state capable of standing on its own. Timur's death did not end a campaign against China, but rather revealed the true nature of his empire. No clear air, no stable system, no state after the man. An empire designed for movement, not for absence. Timur was not defeated in China, he was defeated before he even reached it. Timur, the power that never learned to survive. Timur was not merely a conqueror. He was a harsh test of the very idea of power. He defeated armies, he conquered capitals, he redrawn entire maps, but he never answered the most difficult question: what happens after the war ends? He built an empire that moved with terrifying speed, but it never knew how to stand still without fear. And when the man was gone, the state didn't suddenly collapse, it simply faded away, because it was never truly a state, it was merely a leader. Timur won almost every battle he fought, and lost the only battle he never fought, the battle that followed him. History doesn't ask how many cities you destroyed, but how many systems you left standing. That's why no state remains of Timur, but his name does. And names don't rule the world.